I lived in Y Street in Rock Ferry. We were in Birkenhead, and I had TB as a child. I had TB when I was about 4 or 5. Ended up in a convalescent home for about 12 months of my life. I remember my mum coming up and down and seeing me. But when I come out of that home, Thingwall convalescent home it was, we moved to Y Street. My mum bought the house for £2,000, but I was still on Woodward Road, always. From the age of probably 5, I was at Woodward Road. Me nan moved into Woodward Road in 1953, one of the first ones on the estate. And as big as the estate is, she come from the prefabs in Collett Park after the war. And she tells me stories of the black cast iron ovens that they had in the kitchens. Yeah. And me granddad at that time, which is my mum's dad, because she had another husband. Do you remember her other husband? Carl's dad?
Ronnie. Yeah.
Ronnie.
I remember Ronnie.
But Jack Dodd was before him. And they used to take the stones out of the oven, whatever, for hot water bottles in the beds. They were the first one on the estate to have a television. And they had all the neighbours watching the Queen's coronation. And they had a magnifying glass, it was only a tiny telly. A magnifying glass so all the neighbours could watch it through the window.
Nothing's changed,
and I just always, my nan was just always here, you know.
Yeah. On the estate,
Lily was just always here.
Tell us more about Lily then. You know, what was she like?
Oh, she was the backbone of everything. She didn't have a good life with Jack Dodd. He went. To be honest with you, I don't even remember him. Very, very little. But then she married Ronnie Ross and our Carl come along. And she didn't really have a good life with him, to be honest. You know, if I'm truthful, not a very good life at all. But she soldiered on. She worked and worked and worked. My granddad, Ronnie, come out of the Navy and never ever worked after that. He retired from the Navy and never done nothing as far as I know. But my nan worked and worked and worked and soldiered on, and she would run here, there, everywhere. If she could have wiped my granddad's backside for him, she would have done. And when you get later on in life, you think, what a bloody rough life she did have. Not a very good life, actually. And I remember her going to Butlins with all the women on the estate. Do you remember that, Jill? Remember them going on the showers to Butlins?
Well, we've heard this story,
Yeah.
so have you got any other Lily's side?
God, yeah. Yeah. They used to go to Butlins, they used to pick a coach up, or a bus, coach I think it was, the bottom of Woodward Road. There'd be dozens of them, dozens of women's, nans, mothers and daughters, all families, off to Bethally. I was too young to go, otherwise I'm sure they'd have had me on the bloody bus going with them. They used to go and clean the chalets, and we would wait as kids, hang around the Crown. Remember the Crown?
Yeah, the Crown.
Remember the Crown, don't you? Used to hang around the Crown. It was like a bit of a warehouse, wasn't it, at the bottom of Woodward Road? Crown Paints. We used to hang around there, great big car park. The lads used to play football. They were building the wooden bridge over the road. Mm-hmm. We used to climb all over the scaffolding.
The wooden bridge?
We had a wooden bridge over the road first, yeah?
Temporary bridge.
It was a temporary bridge that they built. I was a part of blockading the road. I remember wheeling my bike and my sister along with me, as little as she was, wheeling her pram up with all the mothers across that road, and they blockaded the road with kids' toys, bikes, the babies' prams, right across Newchester Road to stop the traffic. And they eventually put a wooden bridge up while they were building the metal bridge. And we as kids used to play all over that scaffolding. For what the mothers were campaigning for, they put the wooden bridge across, and we used to climb through the scaffolding from
go
one
across
side
the
of the
road.
road, not across the bridge. We used to go through the scaffolding. So how dangerous that was unbelievable. We were like monkeys swinging through the bars across the traffic. I can remember it.
This is the Newchester Road, Dave.
Newchester Road. My nan had killed me. And we used to sit on the scaffolding waiting for this bus to come back from Pwllheli. Used to come back probably 8, 9 o'clock at night. I just remember it being the summer nights because it was still not light. We were still out playing. I was only a kid. And used to grab me nan because I knew she'd have a bag of goodies for us. We would get clothes that holiday makers had left. T-shirts, shorts, shoes, sweets, food, tins of food. Someone had a key. I'm not going to incriminate anyone.
Somebody already has.
Someone had a key, and I think it was a little syndicate of them.
Yeah.
Maybe not all of them, but a little syndicate. And my nan was involved.
We know.
Yeah,
It's been
my nan was
mentioned.
involved. And a few other women. Maureen Yates. My nan and Maureen Yates were the best of mates. Best of mates. So those two, like, sort of run everything. And they had a key for, I don't know whether it was the Lecky Nieces, probably the Lecky Nieces. And because they were in charge of all the women at Butlands, they would go into different chalets and put different women wherever they needed to go. But before the women went in there, me nan and Maureen would go in and couple of bob out of that meter, couple of bob out of that meter, couple of bob out of that meter. So they got well paid for Butlands. Well paid.
Did you ever get to go?
No, I was too young. I started working with me nan and Maureen a little bit later, probably when I was about 17. We used to work down in Camberlairs, cleaning the offices down in Camberlairs. I started working with them then. Again, the same group of women moved from Butlands into cleaning Camberlairs offices. So I went down there for a fair part of me late teens before I got married. But yeah, I just remember me nan and Maureen Yates always together, always at the front of everything. Everything.
I would have had been married then with
Oh,
the
so you
baby.
were married?
I had the baby at 16 and got married when he was 4 or 5 months old and moved away then from the estate. So I still used to come to see my mum, but I moved to Woodchurch then. So,
What about it? Remember the motorbike?
oh, the lads on the estate had a motorbike. Don't know where they got it from.
Mickey
Scooter.
Ryan.
Mickey
Mickey
Ryan.
Ryan was the ringleader, yeah.
And he was the be all and end all to me. And
Was
where
gorgeous though, wasn't he?
yeah, where the garages used to be, in the middle of the estate, there was a square.
Yeah, somewhere.
The guard behind there.
Yeah. Well, there used to be like garages. I don't know if they were derelict, but a few of them were like with bent doors, and they used to hide this scooter in one of them. And I hated it. I hated it. Every day they're all on it, right, just riding around. And I remember it ran out of petrol. And I can't believe this, you know, but it's true. They pooled money together like shrapnel. And off we all went to a garage. And they bought a pint of petrol
A milk bottle.
in a milk bottle. And honestly, for this bloody bike. Anyway, one day there was a big disco night in the bar. We used to go to the bar.
Yeah.
And I was all excited to go. But he was still playing with this bike. And a big lad come and he must have lived in Power Road. Does Power Road back onto them?
The galleries.
So he lived somewhere there, the big lad.
We can't remember his
And
name.
we can't
can
remember
we?
who he was. And he said, "Do you hate that bike, Julie?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you wish it would break?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "If you come back here later when
I'll
they'd
break it.
gone, I'll break it for you. So I did. And he took spark plugs out of it and put it back in the garage where he had hid it. And then when the lads come back, I was all dressed up for the garage. I had air
My
shoes,
shoes on.
biggest
shoes.
platforms you've ever seen, plastered in makeup. And they're pulling the bike out the garage and I started to feel sick. So the back, somebody's fence had no slats on, it was just the frame. So I climbed on a rock and got on the frame and I was tossing round like like I know nothing. I'm just tossing on them. And they couldn't start the bike. And I can remember hanging upside down watching them. And one of the lads said, "It's you, Julie Fulton. You've broke our bike." And I said, "How can I?" I'm still hanging upside down. "How can I? I can't even ride a bike. I don't know nothing about motorbikes." And next thing, Michael threw it and barged off. And I got down off the fence and the lads grabbed me, tipped me upside down and hung me back on it like a bat from my legs. So he had hold of it and the bar is at the back of my legs and I'm screaming, "Please get me down, please get me down." And they went and I was crying my eyes out. And the big lad come again and got me off. And
I think he fancied you.
I wish I knew who it was now. He got me off, but when I got home, I'm not joking, you should have seen what I looked like. All this mascara had run up my head, because I was hanging upside down. I looked like the lead singer out of a 70s pop group. But I remember that, yeah, a pint of petrol.
Do you remember the fire in the Crown?
Oh, the big explosion.
The explosion.
Remember when it
Where-
exploded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
My mother went hysterical. "Don't go out, it's
So
me
it's
oven."
right at the back of your house.
Yeah. I felt the floor vibrated. My mother thought a cooker had blown up.
I don't know what it was. They were in the paint factory, in the paint warehouse.
In the Crown.
Something blew up and there was a big fire.
And then they all went in, didn't they, and robbed the
And
paint.
we all went in and robbed the paints. My nan's house was full of paints, Dulux paints, Crown paints, not Dulux, Crown paints. We had dozens and dozens of tins of paint that were flogged.
Yes, she sold my dad some.
Did she?
She sold my dad some.
But it wasn't me nan that went and got it, it was those kids that went in and got it. So you knew your place. Get in there, get some of that paint. And me being how I was, I was a naughty girl, wasn't I? Was I?
You fox.
I don't think I was a naughty girl, I just think I was bolshy, wasn't
Yeah.
I? And
She wasn't naughty. Like, she could stay out till whatever time she wanted if
Yeah.
she wanted. And I'd want to sleep at hers so we could stay out. And she'd go, "Come on, we'd be the bed. Come on,
I don't think
let's
it was
go
only-
home.
yeah.
It's 10 o'clock." And I'd be like, "But you haven't got to be in." She goes, "I know. Well, can't we stay out?" "No, we won't." She made her own rules.
I
I
don't
couldn't
think I
get
had
my
any
head round it.
boundaries. I don't think, because I was at my nan's and my mother was doing whatever she was doing. I always remember my mother being there at breakfast time when we were going to school with a plate of toast and a pot of tea. And she worked nights, my mother, so you never ever seen her. So that's why I was always with my nan. But there was no boundaries in them days. You could roam the streets without a care in the world.